Okay. In theory, that's working now. But that's always the problem with these things. In theory. In theory, it's working, but it's probably not. Okay. No, that's not. It's not the right title. Put the title in before pressing a button. But I didn't, so there's that. Okay. I think it's working now, but who knows? If I trusted Facebook at all, if I trusted any of this stuff at all, then... Alright. It says it's on. I guess I'm just going to have to believe it's on and go from there. Keyboard is garbage. Alright. Okay, they're both working. So I'm first I'm going to trip over my desk. Where was I? Oh, right. I guess I should unplug that thing. Let's see. Okay. Okay. All right. So here's the project. Project number one is I've got this thing, which I put together a couple of weeks ago. It's a custom designed, I didn't design it. Some guy designed this thing. Some person designed this thing. It's a it's like a little computery thing that runs BASIC and has a graphics chip and Wi-Fi and composite output PS2 keyboard connector. It's kind of retro-ish. It's modern retro style because you can write little basic games and things like that on it. One of the things that it has on it is, or supposed to have on it, is a PlayStation. I'm going to say this carefully. A PlayStation joystick connector. And when I ordered the parts for this thing, I was able to get everything relatively quickly through DigiKey and others. I actually ordered the circuit board from a place which I forget the name of right now, but I really should look it up and give them a plug. But they get the board fabricated and, in theory, send you all the parts. But they actually didn't send me all the parts. I was missing a few parts. Here they are. They're these people. Aisler.net. A-I-S-L-E-R. Focus, you. A-I-S-L-E-R. Anyway, if that were to focus, that's what you would see. And I think they're in Germany or something like that. So it came from Europe. Anyways, missing some parts. I got the rest of the parts I needed from DigiKey, and then everything except for this, which is the PlayStation joystick connector. These are not a standard DigiKey part, and I had to order them all the way from Shenzhen on the slow boat, and they finally showed up today. So, long story, but what I want to do is put one of these connectors on this board, and then also, as you might notice, I made a nice acrylic case for it. However, I'll have to redo the case, because at least the top of the case, because I would need a hole in the board, sorry, a hole in the case in order to plug the PlayStation controller into the board. Actually, let me check this and make sure, because you never know when you get stuff from dubious sources. Yeah, so that plugs in there, and so then I will have my game connector, or game pad, whatever you want to call it. So the first thing I want to do is, actually the first thing I'm going to do is take this apart, because you kind of have to. So this is a snap fit case, which is really nice. I got this design from Thingiverse and customized it lightly for my needs, because it was a Raspberry. So this thing is designed to fit sort of a Raspberry Pi footprint, so you can use existing Raspberry Pi cases. It has the, I hope I didn't just snap that. I might have just broken it. That's okay though, I'm making another one. It has the Raspberry Pi compatible like hole pattern in the side for the USB and other things. So anyway, this is a snap fit thing with little squeezy things on it there. Little squeezy things, you know what I'm trying to say. Because I don't. Whoops. Yeah, I definitely broke something. Okay. So I will be rebuilding more than one piece here. Thing about acrylic is that it's fragile. So, well, what's the word? Not fragile. What am I trying to say? Brittle? Yes. So it's pretty easy to break when you're bending it. And I'm trying to do this on camera while I'm talking. See, if I did that one a little more carefully and gently, and that's what I should have done with the others. So I think in the end, what I've got left is I've got one side piece that is not broken, and I've got the other side piece that is broken. This end snapped off of it. You can't see that, doesn't matter, but that's snapped off, so we're going to have to replace that. I'll put aside the ones that are good. And this thing here looks like I cracked it, so I'm going to have to replace that. And I think the front connector part is okay, and I think the bottom plate is okay. And of course, the whole point of doing this is to redo the top piece anyway, so we're just going to keep that in mind. This has a weird little, like, the designer of this made it, I should really put something under here in order to have some contrast with the table. But there's a slot here so you can access the header pins, but it's not cut all the way through. The idea is that you could pop this out if you wanted to use it, but in doing so you probably break it. So I'm not sure that that's a really brilliant idea. This is already broken here because it's really weak. It's a weak point. So I think when I redo this, what I might do is I might just take out the slot. In theory, you could pop that little piece of acrylic out there, and then you'd have this open slot. But it's so thin there that it just ends up breaking that. So I don't need that slot. So let's take care of this situation right now. I've already mixed up what I've got. That's broken. That's broken. These are not broken. All right. And the bottom, yeah, it's screwed onto the bottom, and the bottom piece is fine. Oh, I'm going to have to take that apart as well. So, confused. Got to finish my beverage. before I do any soldering. But before I do the soldering, let's just address the case design. So this is the case design over here. I think what I'd like to do, as I said, is take out, let me see if I can find that slot. Okay, so the slot is cut all the way through. This is maybe a little hard to see. It's cut, but it doesn't have, there's a little gap here that's left, so that's kind of how you snap it out. Clever, but not what I'm looking for. So let me just get rid of this and hit Control A, and then kind of go like that. So let me click on this part. Yeah. Yeah. It's not grouped together. I think I can handle this. Zoom in a little bit. This is exciting, isn't it? Riveting. I'm going to use my selection tool. Get rid of that, and this, and this, and this. I really wish there were a good equivalent of Apple's Magic Trackpad for Windows. Magic Trackpad itself does not work well at all on Windows, and there are not any third-party devices that are really out there that are comparable. It's kind of weird. Okay, so now before I go any further, I think I need to go back to, need to figure out the size and shape of the hole I'm going to make for this thing. And then I need to figure out how to position it in exactly the right spot. So maybe this is a little trickier than I thought it was going to be at first. So PlayStation controller. So this is going to go on there. It's keyed, so it'll kind of go in the right way. Maybe what I can do is, now that I'm done with my tasty beverage, I can move that out of the way. So I was thinking I could possibly just hold this on there and just make some marks, because this doesn't have to be perfect. I'm planning to make the, I'm planning to make the opening relatively large, so as to have a little bit of slack. Cut me some slack, man. Okay, so why don't I get a marker, a Sharpie or something. Okay. So what we're going to do here is, this is not scientific. Yeah, let me just hold this up here and make a couple of marks. There's got to be a better way to do this. All right. Just going to sort of. Nice thing about having a laser cutter is you can iterate. So I'm willing to take an initial stab at it and then go from there. All right. So if we pretend that that's, you know what, I can get this, when I do these things, normally, this is what I've got. When you buy one connector, you kind of have to buy a bag of them. All right, this is better. Usually I put this here. I forgot. This gives me a little more contrast for this kind of stuff. So there's the top piece, and I'm going to flip it over because I engraved this from the bottom, so it's going to be shaped just like that. And what I can probably do is just take some measurements. with a good old-fashioned ruler and use that to transcribe onto my drawing. So this is going to be really close to the edge. I'm going to say, let's call that, I want to see if I can get away with 2 millimeters, because 1 millimeter makes me quite scared. Unless I just make it a slot. Yeah, I'm going to go with 2 millimeters. And the width of this thing is, I guess I can measure it this way. If I actually measure the width of this thing at the widest point, it's about 43. And my marks on here are about 43, so let's call it 44. I don't know. Might be a little tight. Let me get that started before I completely lose track of. I could write these down. Why don't I write these down? That might be better. Why don't I write these down? Because then I would need something to write on. Takes me a little while. So, all right, we got this shape this way, and let me just go like that. Here, I'll call it big rectangle, and then there's a smaller rectangle inside the big rectangle, and this is going to be 2 millimeters, and this is going to be, what did I call it, 45. Let's make it. And then how far away is this from the edge? I'm going to call that 5. So this is 5 here. And then the size of this thing is, I think, 11. But yeah. Oh, actually, wanted to see if this connector needs more space. It kind of doesn't, the way that's designed. Fits in the same profile as this thing. But we'll call that, I don't know, 14. 14 this way. And that should be all I need. Okay, now we can go over this other thing. Yeah, a caliper would be fine. I mean, I have them inches away, but I'm not being super precise. All right, back to the software. Boop. All right, we're gonna make a rectangle. I always forget the keyboard shortcut for rectangle because it's M, not R. Okay. You know, what's interesting is I didn't, yeah. Oops. X. I want that to be, oh. I guess when I did this, I was in such a hurry, I didn't fix the colors. All right, fine. It can be AutoCAD color, I don't care. All right, so I guess what I'll do here is I'll make this the right size first. So I'm a little unfamiliar with this PC that I'm using. The width and height are unlocked, so I should be able to just put in 14 millimeters by, really? That looks huge. 45. Of course it looks huge, I'm zoomed in. It is huge. Okay, and then we'll take this rectangle and this is what's the problem when you're not using CAD software. This was, I don't like this thing. I guess I could line it up with this. Come on, there we go. It's lined up with that, and then I can move it over. Can you add, like, do math here? Can I say 10 inches? Let's say plus 10 millimeters and see what happens? Yeah, you can. Okay, cool. So that's at least one way to get what I want out of here. So we'll say plus 5 millimeters. And then on the y coordinate, we'll say plus 2 millimeters. There we go. That's my box. And now I need to move the logo to make room. So we'll just grab that and eyeball it, I suppose. I hate to eyeball things, but I guess the point is that visually. So I don't know if it makes as much sense now when it's centered that way. I guess it does actually. So anyway, pick a spot where it looks reasonable. So we'll put it there. Okay, I'm not going to, and then I'm going to go. Let's just do this quickly. Save as. Nope, nope, nope. I don't want to. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Save as. We'll call this basic engine logo top with PSX connector. Okay. Now I'm going to save a copy because this is the way I do it. Everybody's got their own way. But I'm going to save a copy as an SVG. Take the word copy out of here. I used to like using export, but we've got some issues with that. So now here for the Glowforge, it's extremely important here to change these settings because they default to completely the wrong stuff in Illustrator. So fonts need to be converted to outline, even though I'm not using any. Images have to be embedded. CSS properties should be anything but style elements. I like presentation attributes. Make sure responsive is not checked. Decimal places 1 is completely useless. It has to be at least 3, ideally 4, and then hit OK. All right, and I'm going to go switch on the Glowforge. Let's start doing its calibration dance, and then we will go over to a browser, and we'll go to Glowforge app and upload this file that I just saved, if I can find it. And this is Raspberry Pi something. You know, when you're used to one operating system, there we go. And this is going to be transparent acrylic. Is that what they call it? Medium clear acrylic. Medium clear acrylic. Or equivalent thereof. And I just have to find a piece. This appears to be the piece I used last time. All right, I'm not going to bother with any magnets. Let's go back here. Turn off the engrave. Yeah, I don't want to bother engraving this because this is going to be just you know what? Here, if this fits, then I will come back and engrave it. So my plan now is I am going to use magnets, or at least hold down pins. I have a bunch of these here. put a couple of these pins in, then this thing won't move around, and I can reinsert the piece afterward in order to do the engraving without alignment issues. All right, that's not going anywhere. All right, now that is held in place, so I can do this in 2 steps because I want to test the fit before I come back and engrave it. I know on the alignment of my machine that's going to be good enough, so we'll do the cut. All right, 36 seconds. Just let her cool down. Cool. And okay. Check this out. Patented blue tack technique. All right, there's the piece. And so the question is, when this is later soldered in there, is this going to fit? My feeling is that it probably is. Probably. Might be a little tight on the left side because I pushed that to 2 millimeters. I don't know. I feel like I'm willing to give it a shot and go a little further on this project, and then if I need to do another one, I'll do another one. So I'm going to put this is the trick now, I'll put this back in the machine and I'll do the engrave. Because I haven't moved anything. There we go. Because I haven't moved anything, I should now be able to redo this. Turn this step to, I forget what I used. I think I used SD engrave, SD graphic. SD graphic. Turn off the cut since we don't need that. Set that to ignore. And then press print. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, okay. Just confirm that this is doing something sensible. Okay, that looks good to me, so I'm going to It's about 6 minutes. I'll keep an eye on it and make sure it doesn't start on fire. But in the meantime, we can take care of some other things that need taken care of, like taking the bottom piece off of here, soldering the connector on. I have the electric screwdriver. Which is a colossal waste of time. I could have had this apart by now. Okay. Alright, separated that from the case, which I will carefully set aside with all the hardware. Okay, and now, let's see, we're going to trivial soldering job here, which I will do the way I do. Got to have the Louis Rossmann style gloves if you want to be cool and respected by your peers. Also, it helps to smoke. Alright, we got that. Solder. A little extra light. I live by the maxim that anything worth doing is worth overdoing. So, even though this is the simplest thing in the world, I mean, it's a giant through-hole part. I'm still having turned on my fume extractor. You need more background noise. That's what everyone is clamoring for. Please, let's have some more background noise, could we? Alright. I'd like to just get one pin so that I can set this connector in place. So I'm just going to melt this and then wiggle the connector until it sits flush. Somehow managed to drop most of the pins out in the process. It's an interesting piece of oh, there's a little tab there that I didn't see. This is harder to insert than it might have seemed. So I'm going to take this back out because this little tab on the top, that has to go through a slot in the board. So much for trivial. Nothing's ever trivial. Just using the word trivial is almost a guarantee. that you're going to set myself up there, didn't I? I'm trying to do this in a very lazy way. You know what? Laziness may be a virtue to a Perl programmer like me, but there we go. Alright. Cleared the solder out of the hole. So I can wiggle this thing in properly. Laser's done. At least there's a lot less background noise now. Yeah, so the issue is that this little metal tab here needs to be tweaked in order to fit it into the slot in the board. And I did not realize that on the first go. Which is why it didn't go all the way in. Wow, it really does need to be tweaked. This is a pain, actually. A royal pain. If I could get that in first. The problem is that that tab is shorter than all of the pins. So I can't just get the tab in first and then push it until the pins go through. We have to actually have it close enough to be able to hit the whole thing at once. Is that even the problem? I feel like there might be another problem. Possibly now the problem is that I've got a bunch of excess solder on this pin. Pointless really to bother with this because, with this, because I've got a whole bag of these things. Why don't I just grab another one from the pile? A clean one. Here. This is the connector I really wanted. That other one is probably sour anyway. It doesn't fit in its yes, air filter would be cool. Alright, there we go. That's better. It's tricky. This thing doesn't actually... I don't know if that's because this is a knockoff or something, but this little metal tab doesn't actually go... It's not deep enough. See, I'm pressing that right against the board now, but the tab is not coming through the hole on the back. So, not a big deal. I think it's enough to solder. Oops, everything's good now. I can start over with what I was trying to do last time. Ugh. Come on. Soldering iron is way too hot. It's okay. Alright. Now, I should be able to melt that, press this flush against the board, unlike last time where it wouldn't go because that stupid thing was in the way. There we go. Much better. Now with something like this, I usually like to do the end. Same deal, because it's a large enough connector that, and there's enough flex in it that the end might actually still be popped up even if the middle is in. And then I'll do the other end. Yeah, I know. You're up to temperature. Make sure everything's in there nicely. Okay. Now I just do the rest of the pins. And just touch up these slightly. Okay. Visual inspection. Looks good. Let's do that tab, which I almost forgot about. I'm just going to, it's really not coming through there, but I feel like it might be important, so I'm just going to try to blob a whole bunch of solder into and through the hole. Hopefully that'll be enough. Yeah, I can see it on the other side. It's making contact. All right. Clean my tip. Turn that off. Turn that off. Get this out of the way. Okay. Your plugs. That should be done with the soldering part. Let me grab this piece here. That should be how that goes, and then just double check that there's no interference with the plug end of the thing. But that's good. It's good, kind of a good design in that sense. The socket, the plug doesn't wrap around the socket. It's enclosed in there, so that should be fine. All right, I think we're probably good here. This has got a lot of dust in there from the engraving, so I'm going to clean that up a little bit. Hit my head on the desk in the process. That's one way to do it. Put some less acrylic dust I have to breathe, better. Less air duster I need to breathe, better too, because they have that denatonium in it. Kind of gets in the back of your throat. Okay, so let's do some peeling. I don't enjoy this part. I should have left the back on, or the front, as it may be, so I wouldn't get this dirty. Oh. Something else. He's going for the Gorilla Tape. It's coming right for us. I feel like the Facebook stream may be poorly advertised. I was testing a thing, and I created it as private and made it public, but I don't know. I don't understand the algorithm, to be honest. It's, okay, there we go. That part. Got everything off of there? Yes. Alright. It's all pretty now. So I will put my Gorilla Tape to the side. And I guess the next thing I need to do really is figure out which pieces I broke and redo them. So these are the broken pieces. Let's see if I go back to Illustrator. I think this is what I used. Yeah, this is what I used. Okay, cool. So the broken piece is this one here, the one that doesn't have the holes in it, and the one of these two that does have the hole for the HDMI. So this, yeah, that's the part I snapped off. So I'm going to see if I can find these in my, just going to go back to here for a second. Let's see if I can find these. Yeah. If I'm lucky, it won't be all one piece. It's all one piece. That's okay. We can fix it. We can fix it in post. Or in this case, not post at all. This is going to be ugly. I'm just going to start wildly deleting things. I'm sure there's a precision way to do this, but I'm kind of in a hurry. Get rid of that. I just hate eyeballing anything, you know. But this is not grouped well, so you know I got this file off Thingiverse, and I think it was a DXF. Imported it into Illustrator. Various bad things happen when you do that. So I'm just going to clean it up by hand as best as I am able with the crappy trackpad on this Logitech K400R. Hello. I was literally not even moving anything. It's just, mouse pointer just slid to the left. Like it suddenly had a bout of vertigo. Okay, so these are the two things that I want. What are the chances that if I bring this into... See, I would think that if I bring this into the Glowforge UI, they should be treated as two separate objects, but... yeah. I'm going to, I know this doesn't affect Glowforge, but I'm just going to group these to make it a little bit easier for me to move them around. I will put them, look at, what does my free space look like? Okay, so I think if I turn this one, '90 degrees, and I put it next to this one, I think that'll give me the best chance of fitting them in the scrap. Okay, so in this case I will just do save a copy, and I'll just call this replacement parts, and it's going to be an SVG, and I'm going to hit save, go back to here, mumble, upload, replacement parts. Why am I not seeing them? Oh, because I didn't finish saving. There we go, replacement parts. Replacement parts, replacement parts, replacement parts. Yeah, they came in as one. Well, actually, no, that's not true. I was I was guilty of making a misunderstanding a lot of people make. Okay, just move that around. Yeah, so these, I think if you don't select, then all of these little lines and things can be moved independently, which is really dumb. The inability to control what you're dragging is a drag. Oh, this is tight. This is tight. Poor alignment could be a problem. I want to confirm that this is not going to miss that spot. So I'm going to turn the power down to 2, which will probably just make speed 500, power 2, which should just make a mark on the paper. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. That just barely marked the paper backing, so I can now change the setting. Once it's done here, I'll change this to cut, proof grade, cut, and good to go. Give it a second. Print again. All right, and while that's going, I can start reassembling this thing. I think the trick was to get all of the screws in there and then put this down. And then I can set this on there, onto the screws. And then set these nuts on there. Just enough so it won't fall apart when I pick it up. It's not being super cooperative. I'm missing one. There's one. Excellent. Now we'll just... Oh, one of them fell off. That's okay. 3 out of 4 is enough to keep everything going. I see what my problem is. I made a tactical error caused by being an idiot. Primary cause, being an idiot. Okay. This is not okay to screw down all the way. It really needs a spacer under there, but I obviously... It's been a while since I put this together, and by a while I mean like 2 weeks. I've already forgotten any lesson I might have learned or details from the first time. I think I just put this on, rather than come up with a spacer to go underneath these screws, I just tighten them somewhat arbitrary amount. Only have to hold the board on. Yeah, I just kind of want the spacing to be more or less even all the way around. It's not too tight there to break the SD card slot. Here we go. So yeah, wailing on it with the electric screwdriver was not the correct assembly approach. There we go. Good. I'm also kind of going by how much the threads popping out of the nut there should be enough. Okay, so that now I should have all the pieces. If I go over to the laser cutter, grab it. I should now be able to reassemble this thing. First, a bit of peeling. if you weren't bored enough. Maybe I could talk real quietly in some way and peel this right up to the microphone. I could get thousands of subscribers. We're all weirdos. One last piece. Last piece. All right. Yeah. Okay, so now I have, let's see, I have a replacement for this. So these are the two broken parts, and I'm going to put them elsewhere. And this will be the test fit where I find out that I have to redo the thing because it's not the right size. So these have like a foot on the bottom, and then divot on the top because they're stacking. I realized after I went to Thingiverse and I grabbed a design that was sort of the least offensive to me. And this is a pretty good case design. And I like that it's snapped together. And I like the stacking aspect of it is kind of interesting. If I had a Beowulf cluster of these, I might take advantage of that. Okay. So wait, before I put that on, I think I have to put the top on. Yeah, this will be the moment of truth for the connector. Should put one side on. Hopefully I can weasel this down under there. I'm doing this off camera. This piece of whatever it is, board that I'm using as a backdrop, produces a lot of dust, unfortunately. So when you do clear acrylic stuff, it's also like static charged. So the downside is you end up kind of ruining your project with dust. Look, I think it fits. It's really it's scraping the front just slightly, and if I really cared to like have that opening perfectly visually centered with the connector, and then maybe even rounded the edges and things, well, if I cared, then I would do it in CAD, because doing this stuff in Illustrator is a colossal pain, at least for me. It's not the way my brain works. But yeah, that looks good. So let's see if I can get these front and back pieces on without snapping the plastic. This really should go easily. What am I missing? Here we go. I think the slots are a little bit narrow. Alright, so that piece goes on and then hinges down and then snappy snaps into the snappy pieces. If everything goes according to plan, which at the moment it is not. There we go. Confidence is reasonable. It's not wanting to go on both sides at once, which is infuriating. There we go. Okay. So that's that end. And now... Oh, you bastard. One of the screws fell out in the process. Well, okay. Fine. I'll just very carefully open this up again in a way that totally will not crack anything, even though last time this is exactly how I cracked it. So we'll just do this very, very carefully. How did that screw fall out? How is that possible? Even knowing that it's possible for the screw to fall out, it's disturbing because my carefully planned plans. I need to take this piece off in order to... Don't do that, Chris. Don't do that. I need to take this piece off in order to get that piece off, in order to get this piece off, in order to get the top off, in order to reattach this freaking screw. That should have been on there enough. It's possible that it wasn't. Yeah, what I really should have done is I think I have... Oh, interesting. No wonder it fell out. There's no... Huh. Is it the nut that's bad? Oh, this is... Damn it. Yeah. That's the one that I think that's the one that I went crazy on with the electric screwdriver, which is a pretty stupid thing to have done. I guess I was showing off. The end result of that, I think, was that I stripped something. I'm hoping I stripped the nut and not the screw, because I only have so many of these, but no. Unless that's the wrong size. Wait a minute. If that's the one, then the statement that I only have so many of these is baloney. I mean, it's true. There's a finite number of everything. Okay, cool. Yeah. Either I stripped the nut by turning the screw. It's just plastic. It's nylon. So I think what happened is I turned it too much. I stripped the threads on the inside of the nut, or maybe that might even have been the wrong size. But the good news is, not only do I have a whole bag of these, but this one seems to hold. So as long as I'm a little careful here, I don't ruin it. Just turn that enough. It's not. No, it's not holding. I can feel the threads popping out. So it's just popping out. Okay. It had to wait until I put it away, didn't it? It's just the very end, I guess. Okay. Well, the solution to this is to go back in the thing that I put away, get out another one, a fresh one. No, yes, yes. See, I have a whole bag of these. And see how this works. Okay, that's not coming off. But just to be sure, I'm not putting the parts away yet. However, I am turning the laser cutter off because it's making fan noise. I don't need that noise now that I'm sure I don't need it again until, of course, in a few seconds I snap one of these parts. And then I will need the laser again. So there's that. All right, you know what? That's not great, but I'm just leaving it alone. I kind of hate this now, and it needed a spacer. I really needed to have used a spacer. Lesson for next time. Don't rely on just turning the screws part way. All right. So I think we can reassemble this now. I think. And I think the best way to do that is to put this piece on that side. Actually, put this piece on. Yeah. I can lower that over the connector. Now I can weasel this piece on. Seems to be working-ish. Yep. Okay. Put the back piece on again. This is where I lost the screw last time. But it's not going to happen this time, right? Everything's going to go perfectly according to plan. There will be no broken parts, no injuries, either to the hardware or to my own self-worth. All right, now we put this part on. I should be wearing gloves here to avoid getting all kinds of fingerprints on this acrylic, except, you know, it's gonna, once it's together, I'm just gonna pick it up and throw it around, so I don't think it really matters. All right, hinge that onto there. The snaps should have done their job, and everything is held together nicely. Ta-da! And now I have my PlayStation controller connector. Now, the moment of truth is to fire this up and see how it works. Should be able to play a game with it. Let's go to here. Need to do a little bit of plugging in. Screen. USB. Pause the video. And finally, power. Actually, yeah. I'll plug in the gamepad before I plug in the power. Because I don't know. Why not? I think it just sends like up, down, left, right, something like that. So let's see. All right. There we go. So let me see what happens if I press these buttons. Nothing. That's okay. It's not necessarily supposed to do anything. It's definitely getting power though, because I can turn on the analog stick option. So I think there is a game that should be able to use this. If I read the source code correctly, I think it reads. No, maybe not. Because I can use the arrows. Okay. So I think what we'll do now is we'll do a little bit of research. This is called the basic engine. And somewhere in here, hardware support, manual, reference manual. Reference manual? I think it was doing something called pad. Pad, yes. Get the state of the game controllers and cursor pad. Okay. Return value is a bit field. Yeah, so this should work. I think this should work. Go back over here. Oops. Screen 1 should get me back to a normal screen. And I think when I was looking at this code earlier, somewhere around 9 something, yeah, 9, this 900, 200. Yeah, P equals pad 0, which should be reading the gamepad. So I'm wondering what's the matter. This keyboard is terrible. Oops. All right. Yeah, this doesn't work. It doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Now, this is a PlayStation DualShock 2. I wonder if that's the problem. Do I need an old PlayStation controller? Now it says in the instructions that if you, in the reference manual, that pad 2 reads the gamepad and not the keyboard. So yeah, this is not, I'm pressing all kinds of buttons on the gamepad and I'm getting focus. So that is disappointing, to say the least. I know at least the power pin is connected because there's a light on the gamepad that lights up, but as far as the rest of it, I don't know, man. What's the matter? What's the matter? Whoa. What just happened? Screen went off for a second. Okay. Let's see if there's any information here. PlayStation controller port. That's all it says, though. Just PlayStation controller. Well, yeah, I don't know. Basic. I did not zoom in like that. Basic engine PlayStation. PlayStation controller. It just says PlayStation controller. PlayStation 1 and 2 controllers. Use a serial protocol. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it would be the same. Is this linked to a website that explains how the PlayStation controllers work? And does it then say anything about whether there are different ones that don't work? Example exchange that from a DualShock controller when first plugged in. So I have a PlayStation 2. Yeah, it's a PlayStation 2 DualShock controller. It should be working. Well, I'm going to go rummage through my video game bin and see if I can get a different controller. Maybe that controller is busted. Okay, well, guess what I can't find? This is really mysterious. This is totally the right part, and it should totally work. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I'm frustrated and annoyed. Everything else works, except this one part. Move this back over and take a closer look at it, in case there was a bad solder joint. Looks okay to me. I mean, that's just a big chunky through-hole part. It's not difficult. And it's conceivable that these connectors are crap. And maybe, yeah, there's nothing really going on there, though. They're just if I hadn't put this together. Maybe I should have tested it before I reassembled it. Could probe the thing, but oh well. So, an unsuccessful project today. I managed to get the connector on the board and the new hole in the case for it, but it is not working, and I'm going to have to leave it at that. I don't quite care enough to try to fix it. It might not be true. I'm going to have a lot of trouble letting this go. But this, I didn't want to spend that much time on this. I've spent a lot more time on this than I wanted. So that's the state of things anyway. At least semi-successful live streaming test, I think. So I'm going to say bye-bye for now. Thank you for spending time with me in the lab, and I'll be back again soon.